I Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Georgia Shooting Connection Friday night live stream. I'm Nathan. We got special guest with us, William C. Chapin. We've got Chico Wise, Kyle Lust. Jamie will be joining us a little bit shorter. We've sent out invitations to a couple other people, but we're certainly glad that you can make it. And if you want to go around the room and do introductions and say hey, go ahead.
Sure. Hey guys, thanks for being here tonight. I'm always excited about being here and having you guys in the side chat. Look like it's off the chain already. So, uh, Chico, if a lot of you guys know me, but thanks for being here.
Kyle, say hi.
Oh, okay. Hi. I didn't know if Curtis wanted to go or not. Hi guys, glad everybody could make it. I'm sorry I missed it last week. I had a kind of a family emergency. I had to take a canoe to my sister's house for a water heater accident. But I'm here tonight and glad to see everybody. If anybody is watching from Alaska, I hope you're okay. But hi everybody.
All right, Curtis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm William C. Chapin, using the middle name Curtis. I'm very happy to be invited to the Georgia Shooters Connection. I don't think it's often that they invite a kid from Michigan to hang out with them, but I'll try to adjust my attitude and be friendly to everyone and get along. You know, we won't have any skirmishes. So I'm honored that Jamie and Nathan asked me to be on the show. It really means a lot, and we can expand on that in a bit.
Yeah, interestingly enough, like here in Georgia, at least in southern Georgia, while we don't have a lot of Michigan people, we do have a lot of people from Ohio, which is interesting because, a lot of times we talk to Scotsmen and some of those other people that are from that area. And yeah, it's interesting how the Georgia mix, like who actually comes from where, they end up in Georgia, because there are a lot of immigrants, in-state immigration, I guess, to Georgia. So I don't think we mind the fellows from Michigan at all.
Yeah, I don't think that I've come across anyone. Well, we do have one member of the Reloaders Network, and I don't know if he participates in Slack or not, but Rio Rider. He's a friend of mine. I had no earthly idea that he was a member of the Reloaders Network. He has a small gun shop, 15 minutes north of here, and close friend. And it was funny because I purchased a rifle from him, and he was telling me about something he saw on the Reloaders Network. I'm like, you look at the Reloaders Network? He goes, yeah, I just signed up. That Load the Bacon guy just made me I'm like, gee, Gene, I didn't have any idea. So if Gene Hoover, Rio Rider, if you're out there, hey, thanks for all the stuff you do at your gun shop and supporting us. One of the best places in Michigan for an FFL transfer, very fair. Especially if you shop at someplace like Palmetto, he's in the drop down for the FFL. All you got to do is do your order and then give him a call, and he's got everything for you.
That's really awesome. I had an experience somewhat similar to that today, where I was surprised at a company that was like, "Oh, Reloaders Network, yeah, absolutely." I was like, "Okay, things are starting to spread." For darn sure. Oh, so we've got a couple different folks here in the chat. Say hi to. We've got Loaded Cap Gun, who's in the living room. Eagle Eye Shooting, Crazy Scotsman, Big Al. Big Al put out some interesting videos this week. Vanessa Kitty, glad you could make it. James Pollard, glad to see you, brother. Ozark Spirit. And Crazy Scotsman, who came in handy for me today. Brother, I appreciate it, and I owe you a big one. Or at least 5% or so of a big one. He got me a code that I was looking for. And who else we got here? PC Bullet Empire. Yes, sir. Looks like you had a good day off the other day. I always like taking those. Got some casting done. Sounds good. And I don't know if I said yes, Big Al. I think that's about it right now, guys. But we got 16 viewers on. I appreciate everybody coming out. I said earlier, I don't know if how full the room was. Jamie will be with us here in about a half an hour or so. He had some family stuff he had to take care of. So right now you're just going to have to deal with those. But Yeah, Constance says he's happy to help when he can, and he doesn't expect anything. Brother, that has been your mantra since day one. When I first met you online, always helping brothers out and never expecting anything in return, and I really do appreciate it. Curtis, we were talking. What's that?
You say, is it appropriate to say God bless the crazy Scotsman?
Oh, absolutely. And so it certainly is on this chat. No problem with that. I mean, as much as he's helped everybody else, that's definitely it's worth a prayer.
That's where his gift of being vocal can really be helpful. He just recruits people by being loud.
Yeah, absolutely. What were you saying, Kyle?
I don't know that I've heard God bless the crazy Scotsman a lot. I've heard the second word be different.
Curtis, I remember we were talking about that Palmetto State Armory RCBS clearance. Brother, my stuff I just got notification of shipment today. So it's been like 2 weeks since I put in my order and they finally got it out the door. I was starting to worry they wouldn't get it out of the door quick enough to get it by Christmas.
I found that with Palmetto, they're a little slow to get things out the door. They always package nicely. Their AR kits are marvelously packaged in nice boxes, and I think they do a great job. I think they're busy. I think they move a lot of product, and they're not real quick to ship, but I've never had a problem with the order, and I've never had a problem with the product. The prices are more than fair.
Yeah, the prices are amazing, and so far what I've dealt with them, which has been a small amount, I've been really, really happy. I guess they don't have that Nitro Express shipping that that Larry Potterfield's got going on there.
Well, I kind of got sucked into the reloading sale there. You were talking about it, and so I started to browse it. Well, then I said, I wonder if they've got any 8mm Mauser dies on sale, because I looked in my stash, I didn't have any, and I wanted to get some for Jamie. So I browsed around, and I found some pieces there in reasonable prices, and then I added on some stuff for myself that I wanted to fool around with. And so as soon as that package gets in, I'll open it and get some shipped off to Jamie, so he has and I've got some brass here for him, and we'll get him all tooled up for 8mm and pressure him into videoing it.
Absolutely. That's the best way to get somebody to view and video and stuff. Vanessa Kitty asks, which caliber rifle do you like to shoot beyond 1,000 yards? I got no answer for you. I've never shot that far.
I know what rifles I dream in my sleep about shooting beyond 1,000 yards, but what's funny about it, I've never shot anything myself personally. 300 is as far as I've actually ever shot. So I mean, I think I'd like to try the longer stuff, so I hope to someday. It's just I don't have a facility here to easily do it.
Yeah, it's been I've never had the experience. I've never had the facilities. I've never lived out somewhere where you have that open range type environment where you can shoot like that. Right here, we just opened up at our local club a 600-yard range, and I've been considering getting a membership there. There's two problems. One, they do a lot of match shooting out there, which sounds great, except for when you're wanting to go to the shooting range and you can't, because people having basically league shooting.
So there's 600 yards an hour away. It's Washtenaw. It's one county to the east of us here, and they have a club, and they have F class, and I want to get over there. They have during the summer they have a practice night for F class, and I'd like to maybe do FTR or something. I've got a Ruger Precision. It'd be a good entry level. It certainly isn't competitive what the big guys shoot, but it'd be good enough for me to get started and give it a try. So what I would like to do is go over there and just kind of show up and feel it out and see if someone can help me, kind of get the lay of the land on that type of shooting and try to learn something and see if I can, and then maybe try to shoot a match if I feel comfortable enough about it.
I watched West Desert Shooter in some of his first matches that he went into, and that really got me motivated into doing that. That's one of the reasons why it's for that local shooting club. It's kind of a mixed bag because I want to be part of the matches and stuff like that, but I also don't want to be limited. And the other thing is, there's nowhere near the brass over there that I get at my other range. My other range, I can just pick up brass for days. And
there's another club here in Hillsdale, and they do a fair amount of, it's not real hardcore bench rest shooting, but they have some bench rest matches and what they call varmint matches, with varmint targets and things, and they do the they do the egg shoots and things like that, and they just pushed out to 300. They had 100 and 200 and just pushed out to 300. And I shot my first match there this year. It was what they call the military rifle shoot. I shot iron sights with a Colt H-bar match sporter, and I did well. I scored well, and I had a lot of fun with it. So I want to go back down there once the weather turns and learn a little more.
What about you, Kyle? I know you've done a little bit long range.
Yeah. We play around. I've got a place down south of me, a little bit north of you, where we can get out to 800, 850 pretty easily. And my 308's real comfortable there. 30-06 does real well. To go any farther than that, I hadn't really gone farther than that since I lived out in Las Vegas and just went out in the middle of the desert. But we would find those little exploding golf balls, the little trick things that you play a prank on your buddy at the golf course. We would shoot those at sit them out about 500-600 yards and just take turns till somebody finally nailed it. That was kind of fun.
What you eating on there, brother?
The me or Kyle?
I thought that was you chewing into something.
Oh no, that's a bag. This is one of my things I just got in the mail.
Oh, that's awesome.
New PID.
Yeah, just I'm buying parts little by little. I kind of try to use the discount I had for the Black Friday, so I kind of felt like I needed one of those to help me out better. So I bought the controller.
So you ever shoot out there towards 1,000 yards, Chico?
Oh no. A lot of my shooting is normally majority pistol. I like rifle, but I haven't shot as furthest I've shot is 100, 150, and that's with my AR and my 1022 Ruger. But I like to get involved in something like that and
take your 9mm out to 1,000 yards.
Like at 1,000 yards, it would do less damage to his chronograph.
Yeah.
Well, Eagle Eye Shooting asked a question here that I thought it's I don't know how much we want to go into it tonight, but about losing BHN powder coating, and he found this, and I found this as well. And I think JCM brought up TATV's video, and it's the same thing. And I remember Elvis Ammo doing something about this, and that's why he was starting to go with the cooler temperatures for powder coating. I know it does it. I just haven't run into any troubles yet. I think that's where powder coating and rifle tend to collide. Is you start getting your BHN too low and you start stripping bullets. So I don't know if you guys have come across any cures for that and tested to try to make it any better.
My alloy is generally hard enough where it doesn't matter. I can lose 5 or 6 BHN points and it doesn't matter. It's still
it's dropping well below that, Kyle. When you powder coat, like let's say you have a 24 BHN bullet that's water drop, like a water drop wheel weight. When you powder coat that, it drops to like 10, and it might get back up to 12, but it halves at least from powder coat.
I haven't really noticed that. Of course, I don't cook mine at 400 degrees for a half hour like some people do, but
well, that's kind of what I think Eagle's asking is, if people have been testing after powder coating, what's their methodology to see if maybe he can do it a different way to get something better. Because I used to do 400 or 375 degrees for like 20 minutes or something after melt, and I don't do it nearly that long anymore. And my results are just as good, but my bullets aren't getting as hot. So, I don't test for hardness because I just don't care until I run into problems.
I generally go about 275 for about maybe 15 minutes. I do it when the powder starts to, cover and liquefy, so to speak. I go about 8 minutes after that, and I'm done.
Yeah, exactly. He's saying that that a lot of people are shooting lower pressures. It doesn't take require more than 18 BHN. That's my problem. Is I'm shooting mostly handgun stuff, and it's funny you mentioned that, right? Because I'm funny when it comes to terminology, and I know other people are kind of the same way. People bring up BHN and pressure, and to me, they have nothing to do with one another. Really, it's speed and BHN for me, because what you're worried about with a soft bullet is strip and rifling, which is a speed thing, not really a pressure deal. But pressure can deform a bullet. But is that what we're really running into? Or are we running into problems with strip and rifling and causing issues that way? I don't know. I think it's knowing what the problem is half the battle, because I know I went years dealing with this with people wanting to make bullets really, really, really hard to get it, to keep it from leading, and it was actually causing leading issues because it wasn't able to obturate and do its job and fill chambers and do stuff like that. So I don't know, man. I know that it goes both ways, that you can have a bullet so soft that you're deforming it beyond what's regular obturation, and then but mainly when you got a soft bullet, you're looking at speed being the problem. But I don't know. That's just my take on it.
Y'all got me curious. Tomorrow, I'm going to take a file and file down the base of one of my. We'll just pick one of these 35 bullets. I'll file down the base and use the pencil method on it. I don't have the Lee method, but I'll use the pencils on it and see what I can come up with.
What I would do, here's something silly, and this is a small detail, but if I was going to try that to see about that, I would actually go down the side of the bullet instead of the base.
Okay.
That's the way I would try it, because I think that's where you get a little bit more into the actual real BHN of the bullet. But I don't know how much that stuff. I don't know. I do too much pistol work and not enough rifle work. I know that Curtis does a lot more rifle work. I don't know how much lead powder coat rifle work you do, but
as far as powder coated lead bullets, I've only shot them in 300 blackout and 30-30, and the ones in 30-30 that were powder coated were bunny fart loads, if you will, and the blackout stuff was all subsonic. So I mean, it's not really indicative of what Eagle Eye's asking. In that I have shot some tumble lube ALOX a little faster than what I've done powder coated, but not, we're talking still pretty light 30-30 loads that are, just plinkers. So I mean, in those I've pretty much just, and as a matter of fact, those bullets I didn't even cast them myself. A friend of mine casted them, and I think he tends to cast a little harder. Everything I'm casting right now is pistol and plinking loads in things like the blackout. So it's mostly range scrap, and I add a little bit of wheel weight in just to get the castability, and I don't really worry much about it. So I don't have good information on, personally, BHN versus pressure or velocity. Now, I do know that back in the day when my dad was shooting a lot of silhouette with what you would consider Magnum or bigger than Magnum handgun stuff like 35 Remington Contender, 357 JDJ, and some of those other big silhouette cartridges they were shooting. He ran a lot of pure linotype. Thought that was the thing to do. I've never really quizzed him as to whether he just did that because he thought it was the thing to do, or if he actually did much testing with it, or I don't really know if there was any reasoning, or if that's just what they did.
Yeah, when I first started with cast bullets, it was actually in milsurgs with my dad, and it was very reduced loads type stuff. I've never done a lot of full pressure, full house loads with cast either. It's just not been my wheelhouse. So, but I think Eagle Eye's saying, if I'm reading this right, that he's been baking powder coat at 450-ish for an hour.
Ooh,
that's way long. That's way long. Like,
yeah,
I think it's somewhere between 350 to 400 for a half an hour. And what Kyle does is probably correct. Like, I would go a little bit more than what Kyle's doing because that's just what I've been finding down here. That if I go any shorter than like 20 minutes, that I start to get, it just doesn't seem to work as well. But
And there's a lot more to that than just that temperature for that amount of time as well, because I don't know what Eagle Eye is using, but most of us are using little toaster ovens, and they're electric elements with what you would call a bang bang control. They're on off with an infinite switch, and so is it really 450, or are the highs 475, 500, and the lows are 400 or 375 for how long? And the bullets that are closer to the element are going to get something different than the ones further away. It's not a controlled process. It's very non-scientific. So what Kyle said about warm them up until they look slimy with the powder melting, and then just go till it flows out and shut it off is probably really all you have to think about. I know Elvis was documenting lower temperatures for different amounts of time and things, but it's this isn't a scientific heat treating situation where you've got good control and insulation and thermal mass and all these things. So it's kind of a run what you brung approach, and it works. I mean, it works great. I don't think it needs to be any more technical than that.
Yeah, I've got my toaster oven is a convection toaster oven, and it works pretty well. But I could definitely tell you that there's still, and that's with the circulation stuff, there's still a pretty good sized temperature difference between what's right around the element and what's at different points. So like the base of the bullet might see 600 degrees because it's close to the element, and that's where the pan's getting hot.
There's a reason why your grandma turns the turkey halfway through it being baked.
Yeah, exactly. And that might mean, like, think about, this is one of the things that used to kill me about cast bullets back in the day. All the little differences can make such a big difference that no one seems to know how anything works. Like a silicone mat might make a big difference in heat transfer.
It could.
If you're like me, I shoot 45s. A larger diameter bullet is going to take longer to get heat soaked to the core of the bullet, even though the grainage might be the exact same because it's actually the diameter. There's so much crazy crap that could be in between here and cake.
So we gotta ask Ozark, how much does the BHN of his cornbread change at what temperature?
Yes, sir. I actually, now this tells a real truth that I am not Mr. Born and raised, a Georgia boy. I made cornbread for the first time this Thanksgiving. First time I ever made it. And I
put peppers in it?
What's that?
Do you put peppers in it? Around here, the barbecue places have cornbread with jalapenos in it. It's really good.
I've had that before, but no, I just made some Jiffy Mix.
Oh, that's not making
cornbread. Hey, here's some
trivia
trivia for you. Jiffy Mix is made in Chelsea, Michigan. That's where it comes from. It's about 20 minutes from here. My son and I have. It's funny, we were done with a hockey game and got some food. He goes, Dad, he says, we got a tour of Jiffy Mix and it's really cool. He says, we should go over there. And of course, it's the middle of the night. It's dark out. And we're walking along there's the covered hoppers that have the cornmeal in them. And, we're eating cornmeal that's leaking out of the hopper on the railroad tracks. But, yeah, my son, likes to bake that stuff just to fool around. And he's made some, and he got jalapenos that were fresh ones, and he sliced them up himself. And they weren't the pickled ones that you buy at the store. Man, was that hot.
Yeah, but Jiffy Mix isn't cornbread. It'll work in a jiffy, but that's not cornbread.
Yeah, but
I agree.
Yeah, you guys also say the same thing about instant grits. None of it's actually good. Yeah, oh yeah, Chico. So how'd it go, brother? I know you were terrified, man. You were shaking. I saw you cry a little bit.
Yeah,
just a little bit in that video. You were actually crying about shooting those 45s.
You know what, man? It went fairly well. I was just responding to Ocean because a lot of people in the side chat was asking me how did it go, and that's why I did the live stream, because for people who normally the people who's on here are reloaders, or they reloaded, or they interested. I don't know if it's me, but that first reload that you ever do, I'm nervous. I'm nervous as shit. Excuse my language, but I'm nervous. And I was just like, did I do it right? Did I do it wrong? I was like, and I stay within my limits, but still, it's like after the first 5-10 shots, I'm like, oh, I'm cool. I did it right, Now I can move this way or that way. But so it went well. another thing, the bullets that I think Kyle and Jamie and even Willie Bullet Man sent me some of these. So I loaded these. These was a 230 grain Lee. But Jamie sent me some also that were a 228 Lee. Are y'all familiar with what I'm talking about?
Hmm?
It's got like one lube groove or something, and that I like that bullet, but it was shaped a little different. So, but I see them all pretty much the same, and that one had the best accuracy for me. I'm gonna have to play around with these a little bit more, the big 230 grain ones. But everything went well, and I enjoyed it, man. But so now I can just like pump it out. You know what I mean? I mean
Now you're
that's how
getting
it was
cocky,
with
huh?
well, with 9mm, I was the same way. I loaded probably, and I did it totally wrong with 9mm. I did 50 rounds of one load and then 50 rounds of another load. And on my live stream, I looked at it after I got finished. I was like, I got 25 different loads. That was totally wrong. I had 25 bullets, 5 each with different loads. So when I watched that, I said, people gonna think I'm damn crazy or OCD or something. So, but everything went well, man. I'm happy. I'm happy with what I gained today, and I think that's just a rookie reloader type deal, nervousness.
I used to get it depending on, but it's been so long since I have reloaded for a gun that I wasn't familiar with. Like if I had to go reload for like 9mm or something, I would definitely be the one that's going to be shooting it first to make sure that everything's going well. Now here's something I'm going to give you a little bit of 2 cents here.
Yes, sir.
230 grain bullets and a 45 ACP is a mistake. 200
Yeah.
grain and 45 ACP is built for.
Keep talking. I've got my mode, and I'm gonna go get them. But yes, I remember you told me that a long time ago.
You can have a little bit of powder.
Man, I have had nothing but unbelievable luck. That's like, for me, there's a 174 grain round nose bullet that shoots unbelievably in 303 Brits. And everyone I've ever touched with that bullet, it's just like magic. And when I get a semi-wide cutter, 200 grains and a 45 ACP, it's like, psh, here comes the accuracy. It's just like, I don't know. I just think that I think it's kind of like one of those pet loads kind of deals where I just think it fits usually. Yep, that bullet right there, bud. That RCBS one that you got.
Yeah. It's a Keith type bullet. That's what mine said. But these were rated at what 201. But after I dropped them and water quenched them, I let them sit for a day, and then I weighed them. They like 205-ish. And I know that all depends on the alloy. So I haven't loaded none of these because I'm waiting on the size and die. But I almost did today. I almost loaded like 5 of these up, but I didn't powder coat them or size them, so I was just like, nah, I'll wait. And you know what? I see a question. I want to answer it if I can, and you guys can tune in. David Bolin, good dude. He asked me, why do you powder coat? And to my knowledge, it's you're gonna lube them or powder coat them. So that helps with. I don't know what's the correct word to say what that helps with. You powder coat or lube them. I think pan lubing or lubing, traditional lube is messy from my research. So I think that's the best answer I can give you, David. But these guys are definitely have more experience than me with powder coat and the side chat.
Well, Curtis, if you want to field that, you can take it. I'm sure you've got that pretty well hemmed up.
I powder coat for a lot of reasons with the pistol bullets. I believe it allows me to get away with a little bit softer alloy, and I cast a lot of range scrap, and it's just a little bit more protection. In some things, I powder coat and lubricize both. I'm not sure that I need to, but in some, when I shoot my 45 Colt, I like it to smoke. I like the smell. The beeswax and the alox smells so good. I really like it. I think the other time that powder coating is very valuable, and I've noticed a difference, is if you shoot indoors. We shoot 22 long rifle indoor at the club with a sport rifle position shooting, and usually at the end of the evening I'll shoot a little handgun just to have something to do. And I notice it's significantly less smoke than lube bullets and whatnot. And I have to believe that there's some advantage to powder coating to keep lead residue, dust, mist, whatever they call vaporized lead down. There are some places that like you to shoot jacketed or copper plated bullets indoors because of the the protection against the lead vaporization. I personally believe that powder coating might help with that a little bit. So I mean, those are the reasons. And the other thing is too is I think it can help if you've got a mold that's throwing a little bit of a smallish bullet for a given revolver. You can kind of artificially enlarge the diameter of the bullet with some powder coat. They look nice. I don't always put my pistol rounds in a box. I put them in an ammo can or in a Christmas tree like that one up there, and the powder coated bullets are cleaner when I pull them out and stuff them in my gun. I don't get lead all over my hands. That's another advantage. So I think there's many advantages, and it's another thing to do. I enjoy the process of reloading, making the bullets and things, and it's one more thing I get to do when I'm making my ammo.
Absolutely. Sean, I agree with everything that Curtis just said. I even shooting handguns, I shoot some revolvers quite a bit, and I've had issues back and forth with leading with some guns here and there, and for one reason or another. And powder coating took care of most of all that. I don't have those problems ever anymore. The other thing I would say is storage of bullets. Like I cast, and before I didn't want to lubricize, so I'd size them and lube them at the same time, even though I was using a moly lube, because you can't store them that way unless you're going to load them right up. So I would cast bullets and they would sit around, and then when I went to load, I'd have to go lube the bullet, size it, and all that. Where now I can just go ahead and powder coat it right after I get done, or right after they're done, basically sitting for maybe a little bit from casting. I can go ahead and powder coat them and size them and throw them in a Ziploc bag. And then whenever I want to go load 45 ACP, I've got an entire tub full of bullets ready to load. So that's another reason why I really like it. It just makes my reloading, I batch reload a couple things a lot easier.
And I haven't had it happen personally, but I've read where some people like powder coating if they shoot during the summer when it's hot outside. I shoot a relatively soft bullet lube. It's 50% beeswax, 50% Alox. So I mean, the melting temperature is pretty low. So I could see where, if you were shooting out in Arizona with Kenny and you had an ammo can full of some of my 44 special ammo that's lubed that way, when you open the box, you might have a mess in the box. So I can see where, with harder lubes that would probably be less of an issue, but I can see where a powder coated bullet would give you a little bit more leeway on temperature that way. Or if you left them in your car, it would, and if, I guess the worst case scenario would be if you left ammo in your car and it got really hot and the lube, melted and went down into the powder, I guess it would be pretty useless. I've never had it happen, but I can see where it might.
Yeah. Well, Jamie, I'm glad you could make it, brother.
Well, thanks for having me.
Oh, we got a little bit of an echo there. Let me see.
Do I need to try to come back?
I don't know, brother. It's just started here.
Turn one or the other.
Let me see here. Is that it? We good? How's that?
Maybe it's just me.
Sounds good to me now.
Okay.
Now I'm echoing. Maybe it's me. Well, anyway, let's see if we can just power through whatever it is. Yeah, I'll tell you, there's some interesting things when you're talking about the difference between lube and powder coating. I find, like Curtis said, there's times when, like, my 45 Colts all still use traditional lubing, traditional sizing. But I know that certain people I've had complain at the shooting range because it stinks. At least to them. I don't mind it. But, yeah, so I don't know. There's a lot of good reasons, I think.
You've had people say the powder coat stinks at the range?
No. The traditional lube. I've got. Well, it's not traditional. It's moly lube. They say stinks when I shoot
I've
it.
heard that.
Maybe you need to switch to bacon.
Yeah, absolutely. Rendered pig fat.
One
oceans.
that I found about powder coating that I love is I can just take an old marinara sauce jar, go ahead and get them all ready. Everything's done. These are ready to go into a case, and just sit them somewhere, and nothing's going to happen to them.
Yeah. Well, Jamie, we're glad to have you back, brother. I know we were. I was just kind of holding down the fort until you got here, till the showstopper gets here. But we haven't started on the topic for the night. We just kind of answered or talked about a couple questions in the chat, including some questions about powder coat and BHN. And
I've been listening.
oh, okay, all right. Well, good.
Been in
Then I
the
don't have to
car
recap
listening.
for you.
I want to hope y'all welcome Curtis for being our special guest tonight. Thanks for joining us, sir. And I have a question. Y'all know what tomorrow is? The big SEC championship game. So, what do Alabama football players get on their SATs?
Cheerleaders.
Tobacco juice.
Because I know that they're not the ones taking it.
Well, there's a point. There's Miss Vanessa. Hey, Vanessa, kitty. All right, powder coat, hardness. Guys, y'all know I've been doing this 35 Remington series. I powder coat my stuff up 400 degrees, 20 minutes. And then after that is when I tested my hardness. And mine's running 18 to 20. And of course, 35 Remington is a low pressure type round, really. We're running what 28 to 35,000 pounds per square inch. And I water quench them when they come out. I do. And I agree with Kyle and Curtis. I'm a member of the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. Just get it coated, get it out, dump it, do what you got to do with it. So, as far as David Bowen's concerned, guys, his question, and he's typing "Go Irish." Good luck there, buddy. We powder coat our bullets because all bullets has got to have some kind of lubricant on them. I think Curtis explained it very well, but I've never owned a lubricizer. I've never had one of those things, so I don't know how to go about. I mean, I can figure it out. I mean, it's not rocket science. I've seen it done lots, but I wanted a way to powder coat to lubricate my bullets without having to spend all that much extra money. And powder coat fell right in there, and it's. I agree with what Curtis said about it. I believe you can run a softer BHN with that. It's pretty tough. It's like a polymer jacket that we put on there. So works good, lasts a long time. It's cheap. What else do you want?
Yeah, that's the fact that I mean I think that's how it works too. I think it's a jacket. I don't think it works as a lubricant. I have questions when you talk about the physics of how lubricant works anyway. So we want to get into tonight's topic, which is our first guns. So Curtis, why don't you tell us a little bit about your first gun?
Well, what I shot first versus what I owned first is two different things. But what I'd like to start with is by saying that when I was a kid, guns were tools. Guns were not toys. So we didn't do cowboys and Indians. My parents weren't really restrictive about things, but I think they were pretty much in tune that if I was going to have interest in guns, it was going to be a real gun, and my dad was going to take me to shoot them. It wasn't going to be a squirt gun. It wasn't going to be a rubber band gun. It wasn't, because I think that was their approach to responsibility and safety. And I think from a very young age, I'm going to show you guys a picture, and I hope that it comes out. This picture right here is, I'm getting reflections here. this is what kind of explains why I was taught guns the way I was taught. If you look right about here, that's my grandfather. My grandfather was from the same hometown as Loads of Bacon's family in Greenacre, Washington, out west. And he they had some hard time before World War II, and things went bad at the farm. So he decided to join the service before the draft, ended up in the war, and met my grandmother, USO, all that kind of good stuff. Well, when he got back to the state of Washington after his kids were grown up, he became a reserve police officer. So here I was, a young boy out there. We had moved out to Washington for a while, and my grandfather was a reserve police officer, as was my father. So when my sister and I were young, when we thought about guns, they were police guns. And at that point in time, I believe my father had 2 firearms that I know of, and I talked to him about it last night to try to clarify. He had a Ruger Security 6 that I believe was a 38 Special that was his duty piece. And I believe that one was blue, but I don't remember it real well. But he had one other handgun, and it was a Ruger single 6 22 long rifle. And that was the first firearm I ever shot. And my memory tells me that it was nickel, but I don't even know if there was a such thing. My memory may be wrong. And I remember it having like fake stag grips on it, or at least a white ivory looking grip of some sort. That's how I remember it. And when we were little and back in Michigan, we used to go up north on the weekends for motorcycle riding and things. That's how I grew up. And I remember taking that 22 along, and there was like a little dump area, and we'd go plink with it there. And I only recall doing it a couple of times, but that was probably the first one I ever shot. And then the first gun that I probably ever considered to be mine was actually a Remington 870 in 20 gauge. It was a Remington 1100 B grade factory skeet gun, because in the 80s, when I was in like maybe 8th grade, my dad started to take up the sports of skeet shooting and trap shooting. And that's when I really got into firearms. And my dad bought this 1100 factory skeet gun from a friend, and that was the one that I always shot. So I consider that to be my first. I wish I still had it. People always talk about the gun that got away. I know 3 different people that owned that same shotgun, and every one of us is like, that's the one you shouldn't have let got away. It was a marvelous shotgun to learn shooting skeet with. It's what I learned to reload for first and everything else. So that was kind of my first gun, and would have come along, I guess, about 82, I would say. 82, 83 is probably when that would have been. I'd have been in the 8th grade. So, a lot of skeet and trap shooting in those days. So that was where I more or less started.
That's really cool. Sorry you don't have it, though.
Oh, I know it. And I wish my dad still had those 2 revolvers that I talked about. And, I've asked him about that single 6 before, and his memories, and he says, I don't remember exactly. He says, I had something like that. And I'm like, well, could it have been like a Bearcat, or, what, here I'm throwing stuff at my dad. He's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And he says, you might be remembering the 2 of them mixed together. He says, I had a Security 6, and I had some sort of a 22 revolver. And he says, I don't really recall, whatever else. So, and I also remember my dad, by my recollection, and sometimes you believe what's fabricated in your mind. It's kind of like when we talk about my dad and my grandfather being in the reserve police and this and that and the other. Sometimes I wonder, do I really remember that, or do I remember the pictures of it? Because I remember very distinctly pictures of my sister wearing one of my dad's reserve police hats and playing with a pair of handcuffs. I don't know that I remember her doing that, but I do remember the picture. And I think sometimes that bleeds together in your mind. So when my dad said, well, maybe you're mixing the 2 guns together, and he says, it strikes me that the Security 6 was blue, but if you think about it, it's more likely that a single 622 would have been blue, and the Security 6 would have been nickel or whatever they would have been in those chrome. I don't even know what Ruger was doing those days, and I haven't looked it up. So he probably had a 3-screw single 6 in 22 long rifle, and it's long gone. And another thing I'd like to have that was from my family, but it's, I don't know for sure. But I also remember him buying from a friend what I recall is a 410, like a cheap H&R or a Stevens, break action single shot 410 that he bought for me. But I never shot it. He's like, I don't remember that. He says, are you sure you're not remembering my old 20 gauge single that I had from when I was a kid, and I said, gosh, it strikes me that it was a 410, and all that, but he doesn't remember, so it's kind of one of those things where you have these memories, and I don't know if they're real or fabricated, but I do remember shooting the one revolver at the dump when we went up north, and I remember my sister and I referring to it as a police gun, even though it probably was not. But in those days, anything that was a revolver or a handgun, we would have thought was a police gun because Dad and Grandpa were reserve police officers. So I mean, that's just, we didn't relate to target shooting guns or whatever. They were police tools, so that's how I remember it.
Yeah. Yeah, I have memories like that as well. How much of it is the story that I'm remembering or the picture that I'm remembering versus the actual event? Sometimes it's hard to tell. So, Kyle, do you want to go next?
Well, I seem to have been mistaken on tonight's topic.
That happens.
I thought it was 22s.
Well, Jamie told me to talk about our first guns. It would probably evolve into being a 22 discussion because that's, common as being your first, or
I saw when Nathan said it's your first guns. I saw Jamie put his avatar up and disappeared for a minute. I think he ran to the gun safe.
It looks like Insight. It looks like Insight Freedom is kind of along the same lines as I was talking about. He's saying his first gun was a Remington 1100, and that's what I consider mine to be as well, as a Remington 1100. He says 12 gauge. Mine was 20 gauge skeet. Gosh, if I knew where it went, and what's funny about it, Nathan, is my dad sold that 1100 because I whined about it. In those days, I didn't wear glasses. We didn't wear shooting glasses when we were shooting skeet. We should have. And it spit powder in my eyes all the time. And I whined about it. I was a kid and I whined about it. And I whined about picking up the shells. So what does my dad do? He went and bought me this primo 16 gauge Model 12 Winchester with a 26-inch, improved cylinder barrel on it. It was beautiful. Didn't have a vent rib. Had the corn cob really short forearm on it. It wasn't a skeet gun, but it was turned into one. And classy shotgun. I couldn't shoot it for nothing because I'm a real compact shooter. And the forearm was too short for me, and I didn't have the discipline to stay down on a gun without a vent rib, and I just instantly hated the thing. And plus, it had never been shot much, and then was totally redone, so the action was just tighter than tight, and it was fussy. And then on those early Model 12s, the ejection ports just like 1/8 of an inch longer than the shell. So if you weren't crisp on racking the action, it wouldn't clear the shell coming out. And of course, I've bought the thing and all that. I do know where that shotgun is. A very, very close friend of mine bought it from my father recently, so I know where that one is. And I could have that one back if I wanted it, but I want that 1100 back.
I hear you, man. I hear you.
Actually, my first gun, my father gave me a Marlin 336 chambered in 35 Remington when I was 12 years old for Christmas. And if I'm not mistaken, the following weekend, it was still deer season, and me and him went out hunting. We'd been out hunting a lot. I'd be with him, and that's when I bagged my first deer. It was a week after he bought me that rifle.
So you got to eat, because of your rifle.
Sure. We ate every drop of that thing. Me and my dad cut that thing up. We smoked the hams and cut the back straps into fillets, and we had that. And then we pretty much took the front shoulders and everything else and made jerky out of it. And we had 80 pounds of dehydrated deer everywhere. My mom was so mad.
Yes, sir. Whatever happened to it?
I've still got it. It's in the gun safe.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's what me and Jamie have been doing the 35 Remington thing with. That's my first rifle.
Awesome.
And it's still.
I wanted to jump in for a minute. I noticed in the chat, and I wonder how common this is. We have the comment of, the first rifle I shot was an M16A1. For folks that are maybe around 70 years old or so, I would guess that might be maybe a common theme. If unless they trained on like a 14 in boot camp. I don't, early in the war they wouldn't have had 16s for training yet. But there's probably a fair amount of folks that maybe the first things they shot were the things that they trained on in boot camp or whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, if I wasn't, if I was somebody that didn't get raised with guns, the M16 would have been the first thing I shot. Because that was the first time I had to go shoot, because it was military. So
I went through boot camp. I'm a Navy veteran, and when I went through boot camp, it was in San Diego, and I went the Monday after, actually the very late Sunday after Thanksgiving in 1989, and the way it works out time-wise is I was in boot camp over Christmas vacation. So there are a lot of things in my training record that I quote-unquote qualified on that I never did. I never fired a rifle at Navy boot camp. I did fire a 45 with like a Marvel conversion in it for 22 long rifle. I never did firefighting. I never did shipboard drills. I never did the gas chamber because all the staff there was on vacation. So they just gun decked everything and wrote it in our training records that we did it, and they shipped us out. So it's like, I got all this stuff signed off that I did, and I didn't do any of it.
I joined, or my first day was November 17th. So I was in basic through Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year. And I can tell you that there was more days of not drilling than normal. That's for sure.
That must have been nice.
It was for me, but I mean, all the other guys, especially the guys that have families, I mean, when the crying started, it was like a wave, of people being upset, being homesick, man. I mean, some of those guys were taking that crap hard. I had a lot of guys in my flight that were that had kids and stuff. I felt bad for them. For me, I was just like, whatever. I'm here. I'm just doing this. I'm not trying to think about all that. But I could definitely see how going through military training could be somebody's first gun.
Yep.
So what about you, Jamie? What you got there?
Well, my thought when Curtis and I were texting last night was how it's getting to be Christmas time, and how it as the season comes along, it kind of reminds us of our youth, and we're all a bunch of gun guys, and thought, how about the guns from our youth? And immediately my mind went to 22. I'll tell you about the first gun I ever shot was this might take a minute, it might be difficult, so y'all bear with me. The reason I was late tonight, my Aunt Joni passed away Wednesday night from cancer. Well, her first husband was my Uncle Jim. He's still my Uncle Jim to this day. He's about 73 years old. He still jams gears for a living, over the road, trucker, foul mouth badass. I love my Uncle Jim. He's the one taught me to hunt, how to chase girls. Y'all all got an Uncle Jim. Not that Uncle Jim, but we all got an Uncle Jim.
I've got an Uncle Jim.
I've got a true to life Uncle Jim that's very similar to that Uncle Jim. Anyway, he took me when he decided he was going to take me hunting. I was turning 10 years old. He bought a Stevens Savage, whatever you want to call it, breakdown combo. 22 long rifle on the top, 410 on the bottom. So I was a 10-year-old kid dragging this 10-pound gun through the woods and hunting rabbits and squirrels and stuff like that. My Uncle Jim also was the only guy I've ever been hunting with that shot the beagle dog. I said, Jim, why'd you shoot the dog? If you'd just give him a minute, he'd have caught the rabbit. I mean, he was gaining on it, Anyway.
He missed the rabbit and hit the dog.
Well, he wasn't leading it. And they were both
that's why I'm laughing.
They're in high-speed pursuit. I felt so bad for that dog. And then I thought the bad part about it wasn't our dog. It was the property owner's dog. But the first gun that Christmas, so that was fall, and that Christmas, my mom bought me this little gun right here, and this was a nothing little 22. lever action. It's Ted Williams. I think it's made by Ithaca or somebody like that. And I don't know if y'all can see at the top, but it's just like a little rolling block, single shot lever action. But this thing, I could hit anything with this thing. I mean, I loved it because it looked like a cowboy gun. It was a single shot, so my mom would let me have it. And you can still see it. It's still in pretty good shape after all these years. But there's been a lot of squirrels killed with this gun. My lady that would keep us when I was a kid, she'd say, "If you'll go kill some squirrels, I'll make squirrel dumplings for supper." And I'd tell her, "Well, I only got 5 shells. I only got 5 shots." She said, "Well, you can do that." So I'd go across the railroad track and I'd come back with 2 squirrels and three shells left. And that's when I started learning what Chico was talking about with those pump guns that he's got, short, longs, and long rifles. When we were kids, when I was a kid, I'm probably a little older than y'all, but you could go to the corner store, like a general store, kind of like a convenience store is now, and they had all 3. You just they had 12 gauge, 20 gauge, 16 gauge, pretty much at the convenience store at the corner. So, and any hardware store would have whatever you wanted.
We still do
Oh,
down here.
yeah. And another gun from my youth, and I've showed this on the Scotsman's chat. I think some of y'all might have seen it. This is my granddad's 22. This is a Winchester Model 190. Pretty much the same thing as your Ruger 1022, or well, probably more like your Marlin Model 60 in that it's tube fed. But I've never owned a Ruger 1022. But these are 2 guns from my youth. The little single shot was mine. This was my granddad's that I never could touch until because it was Papa's gun, you know. But I'm fortunate to still have it and still in good running order. I put new springs in it about 2 years ago and took it out shot one tube through it and haven't shot it anymore. But 22s are fun.
That's a beautiful one there, Jamie. That's that's a really beautiful gun. That's a really, really pretty 22.
Well, thank you.
So what about you, Chico?
I'm not that old, so my memory should be okay, but for some reason it's not. But I'm not really sure of the first gun I shot, but I'll tell you something interesting today when I was at the range. When I was shooting those 1890s that belonged to my uncle, and he's had them for a long time. He told me he had them back when I was a kid. You ever get deja vu? Like, I've been here before. Because when I was shooting those rifles today, something came over me. I was like, hold on, that felt different. Like I've shot this gun before, and that's what I believe. It shoots like a pellet rifle. So growing up, we shot guns. I'm from the city of Atlanta, so it's really not a lot of places to shoot. But like in the late '80s, we could shoot on our property. 22s, nobody's really complaining. So my first handgun I ever shot though was like a 25 ACP that belonged to my grandmother or something, like a pocket gun. And but the first gun I've ever owned was something like a Glock 32, if you guys are familiar. It's like 357 SIG. Bad first gun because the ammo is just ridiculously priced. But so, like I said, today when I shot this gun, this pump action, this model 1890, I felt something like I've shot it before. So I didn't want to call my uncle because I didn't want him to be like, "Hey, you done cleaning them guns? Bring them back," But I think that was the first. I believe this is one of the first guns I've shot. One of these 22s that belonged to him, because he said, "I think you've shot this gun before." But I love, like Jamie said, I love 22s because of if you're, you know, like a new shooter and you're not familiar with firearms, you can 22 is a little less forgiving on a lot of people. So, you know, I've got little cousins that like to go shooting with me and female friends. And what I'll do, I'll hand them a 22 first before, because I'm not handing them my 9 or my 45 or anything else, 223, none of that. So that's what I think was my first gun's Glock, but my first gun I ever shot had to be a 22 or a 25. But my memory it's been a long time. I'm just
Hey, no, memory's a funny thing, man. That's an interesting thing, that having that, you know, possibly one of those pumps being one of your first ones, and then you getting them back later on as an adult is a cool story, though. You know,
it felt funny today, man. Like I said, I was at the range. I was like, when I shot the first one, I was like, man, I think I've been here before. So it's not deja vu, whatever it is. Because deja vu is like you did this before. It was like a flashback. I was like, hold up, because one of them take the CB short, one of them take CB long. It shoots like a pellet rifle.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
So I was like, I think I've shot this before.
Yeah, they use stuff like that, you know, back in the day at carnivals and such. I mean,
right, gallery guns.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's funny because my first gun was 22, like everybody else. But what's funny is my memory's bad. Like, my memory's not very good, so I have holes and stuff. But one of the things I definitely remember as a kid, and this is one of those few things, Curtis, like you're talking about, there's certain things that you remember very vividly. One of the things I remember very vividly was trying to take my dad's BB gun. My dad had one of those old BB guns that to cock it, you push the barrel down inside of itself, right? I had to pull it out. And the rule was that I wasn't allowed to get a BB gun until I could cock that thing. And I remember as a kid having that thing up there and hopping up and down with it because I was didn't weigh but, you know, nothing, trying to get that thing to cock. And I remember finally getting it to cock one time in the laundry room, and I was so pleased with myself I couldn't see straight. And I ended up getting a BB gun. But this was my first one, and it's a Stevens/Savage Model 1522. It's a very basic little bolt action 22. But, you know, and it's single cock. You got to actually go back there and cock it. But this thing was perfect for me. So every time we went to the range, this is what I was shooting. And I'm fortunate to still have it. It's a very simple gun. I mean, this was like the gun of the Boy Scouts, you know, and it didn't fit in with what a lot of other guys around my group were into, because they were more, Marlins and stuff like that, and 1022s. But this is what I got, and I'm so glad I did, because I tend to think, and I might be wrong, that having a single shot with the little one cock and having adults waiting on me to get done doing what I'm doing forced me to pay a heck of a lot of attention to every shot I took as a kid when we were at the range, and made me a little bit better of a marksman right out of the box. Where I've seen other kids, with 1022s and Marlin 60s and stuff, they're just throwing lead out there, where for me, it was like I had to pay attention. And my dad was also pretty stringent about how much ammo I think I would get. Now, some of that memory might not be great, but here's the kicker. I don't remember getting this gun. I just remember always having it. I don't remember getting it. I don't remember if it was for Christmas or a birthday. And it's sad. Like, that's something I should remember vividly, but unfortunately I don't. And that also tells you just how old I was. I couldn't have been but like 6 or 7 maybe. I was pretty damn young.
How old are you guys now? I'm not a real good judge. I'm guessing that Jamie and I might be close in age. And obviously Chico's the baby of the group, and I was waiting for him to say that his first gun was the one he shot his chrono with. I was just waiting for that. I didn't get it. Well, I mean, what age range are we talking about amongst our crowd here? I have no idea how old Nathan or Kyle would be.
Well, Kyle and I are both 39.
Okay.
I'm 36. I'll be 37 on Tuesday.
Yeah, Chico's not as much of a baby as he makes it out to be.
I put you at about 25 or 26.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Chico's not the baby he makes out to be. yeah, so it was, I got this. I'm gonna say, Curtis, a couple years after you got yours. So I'm gonna say probably 84, 85 ish. Probably is when I got this. I think. But the gun that I remember the most was my dad has this is a controversy. But here's the non-controversy. A friend of my dad passed away, and he got a shotgun from him. It was a 410 bolt-action shotgun. And who exactly claims ownership of that between him and my mom and me trying to steal it out from underneath of him? I shot that gun a ton as a kid. We had a small little stream that ran next to our house that had a lot of mud snakes in it. And the mud snakes would kill the frogs. So I had a vendetta against the mud snakes. And I was basically got kind of carte blanche. I would have to tell somebody to go out there and shoot that 410. And I got to be a snake murderer. But I have more memories of actually shooting that 410 than I do shooting the 22. Because I was pretty young when I got my 303 Brit as well. I was 12 or something like that. And then so I went pretty quick to that 303 Brit whenever we would go shooting. But I still have a lot of memories with this gun, and I've always really enjoyed it. I just wish I remembered how I got it. But yeah, so
the closest thing I have to a gun from my youth, the very first live chat that the Reloaders Network did with Loads of Bacon, I showed it. When I was about the same age as when the 1100 came along. My dad got interested in going out west hunting with my uncle and whatnot, and he purchased for the trips out west a 7mm Rem mag and a 270 Winchester, both Ruger Model 77 Mark I tank safeties. They were brand new at the time. The two we bought were brand new. And when after that trip was over, the following year I was taken to the UP in Michigan to hunt whitetail, and my dad basically said, okay, you can use this 270. And that's when I first started reloading metallic, and I showed the box of 20 cartridges and the reloading press and the dies and whatnot in that chat. So I still have all of that. And to the best of my knowledge, the 7 rounds that I fired in that rifle when we tuned it up to go hunting was the last time it was ever fired, and it's here in the gun. It's here in the gun closet. I one day told my dad I wanted to play with it. Well, everybody knows that I wanted to have it. So I do have that. I don't have the 7 mag. That's at his house, but I have a sneaking suspicion that I can probably tell my father that I'd like to have that one too. So I have fired both of them, I think probably on the same day. And it's neat how you remember things that influenced you. That's where my love for 350 Rem mag came from. When we were tooling up for that trip, my uncle had a Remington 660 in 350 Rem mag, so it didn't have the vent rib like the 600 did, and the barrel was 2 inches longer, but it was that classic laminated stock, and I love that rifle. And I've gone to gun shows and thought about him. Well, he decided he wanted to sell it, and he called me when he wanted to sell it, and this would have been, I don't know, 2003, 2004, and I didn't have the means to do it at that point in time. So my friend Dave bought that rifle as well. So someday I will probably purchase that one back and have it. But I've collected a couple of other 350 Rem mags since. But I mean, I remember how in awe I was of that rifle. I mean, it may have well been a Lamborghini in my eyes. It was the coolest rifle I ever saw. The way the lamination lines were on it and stuff, and I just I've admired those ever since.
Yeah, that old 410 shotgun was red. I don't know whether it was stained with Kool-Aid or something, because I'd never seen anything like it at the time, but it was a beautiful stained red. So I mean, it really stood out for me. That was a big one.
Don't talk about Uncle Jim. He just woke up and joined the chat. He almost slept through it, so we're going to have to clean up our act and not talk about him anymore.
Well, I assume that all that snow's got the old man tired. I mean, how much signatures in snow can you do before you got to take yourself a nap? I imagine.
Probably got writer's cramp.
It was beautiful though. I saw his video today, and I know it's a lot of work, and I know it's a pain, and it gets tiresome. But man, that was just gorgeous. The mountains and everything. I'm just like, oh, he lives in a postcard. And he,
I guess that's kind of like living in a postcard in the post office. You put a picture on the wall.
yeah.
That's funny, Ozark. Nathan, let me ask you a question on that little single shot.
Mhm.
Is it got the little pink in the back that you have to pull out?
Yeah.
The plunger, yeah.
You ever shot 22 shorts out of it?
Not that I remember. I could have. I mean, I shot usually long rifle out of it because we had we got like a case of them, like a case of bricks back in the day. So I just had a ton of Remington 22 long rifles. I
Now,
bet that thing makes
listen to
no noise.
this. You're going to get a kick out of this. My buddy's got the exact same gun,
Mhm.
and we love shooting it. It's dead nuts accurate.
Oh yeah.
It's a great shooting gun. He filled that thing up with, I think, 42 shots of 22 shorts. And we call it, no, it probably wasn't 42, but it was like 28 or so. It was up there. And he goes, yeah, you can load it twice and shoot all day. So we're sitting there shooting it, and we called it the doink gun. All you heard was the doink of the plunger going down. You never heard the round go off.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. You'd probably hear the hammer on that thing much, especially your head down, much louder than the round.
We had so much fun with that thing.
Yeah.
And hell, we were, damn near 40-year-old men out there acting like 12-year-olds.
You know, Kyle, I know I did. My dad used to have a fair amount of shorts and stuff laying around, and every once in a while, and this wasn't very often, right? Because we didn't live anywhere like I live here. It's not that compact, but we had neighbors relatively close. I was able to go out back and shoot a can at a stump of a tree, and I bet you I shot shorts in that thing a fair amount when I did that because it's not as noisy. What you got there, brother? Some shorts?
Some shorts. That's what I shot today, man. Shorts and longs, actually, man. And you know what? For me, being a deal seeker, I was mad when I had to buy these. It's like $10 for $8 for 100 rounds, where I spend $19 and get 525 long rifle cartridges. Good ammo, but it still was pretty cool to have. I want to say something I know, Nathan, you were talking about your first rifle. That's cool. Especially like you said, taking children to the range. If you give them like a 10-22 and they just throwing lead. And, I did that. I bought my son his first rifle, and he may not even like it, but this was last year. It's a Ruger 1022. I bought it. It was on a deal. And after I bought it, I said, you know what? I should have bought him a bolt action, like one of those. What is it? The one with the plunger with like a Wildcat or something, whatever they call them. Cricket, yeah. That's what I should have bought. But I bought this, and I was like, even if he don't like it or enjoy it, I'm going to love it, 1022, But I took him to the range January of this year because my range, he had to be 7. So I bought it when he was 6. His birthday's 2 days before Christmas. And I was like, you want to go to the range? He like, no. I'm like, man, you may like that. You may not even know. I said, look, you don't get no iPad until we go to this range. He was like, okay, shoot, okay. And we went and shot it. He just like, ta, 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 ta. I was like, I should have bought a bolt action. So I think
Christmas of
one.
2015, I bought a 22 for my son. And he's left eye dominant, and so I like, what can I get him that's worth having that's left-handed? And I ended up settling on a CZ 452, and it's funny because I had him order it down to the shop, and it came in, and they called me, and I went in to pick it up, and Kevin, the guy that runs the place, he says, you want to look at it? I said, well, did you look at it and make sure it's left-handed? And he goes, well, yeah, I looked at it. It's left-handed. I said, we'll pull it out and look at it. And we pulled this thing out and slid the plastic back on it, and I almost passed out. This $700 CZ 452 had the most beautiful piece of Turkish walnut I've ever seen on anything that you just buy. I was like, I said, must be that they kind of treat you good when you pay the extra for the left-handed one. It's a gorgeous rifle, and he uses that when we shoot indoor 22 stuff, and of course he shoots it off a bipod prone most of the time, and 300 is the max score in these rounds that we shoot. Normally you shoot 10 standing, 10 kneeling, and 10 prone, and he shoots all prone and off the bipod. And the guys are like, okay, as soon as you shoot a 300, you have to shoot positions like everybody else. And I said, yeah, I think that's a good idea. So we're shooting along, and he's ripping the bullseyes out of the target just at 50 feet, and he's shooting with a rear bag and a bipod. You ought to be able to just punch it out. All 10, the last shot, he tanks a 9. And I'm like, Alex, come on now. Everybody here knows. I said, if you're going to dump a shot and sandbag, don't do it on the last one. At least have some courtesy and make a mistake earlier, and don't patronize these guys. So they were razzing him pretty bad.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. That is a good learning experience.
Yeah, the CZs are absolutely beautiful. I've seen.
Well, I can't believe the wood on this rifle. I mean, it's just spectacular.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, me too. I'd be interested in.
Well, if we're in 22 mode, I can pull it out, and while you guys are sitting there, I'll pull it out and see if the camera will show it. But I mean, it's got a gorgeous piece of lumber.
It's funny. My mom is left eye dominant, but she always shot right-handed. Yeah, so she would shoot with her head way over, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Check this little thing out.
What you got?
It's an M&P 10 or what do they call it?
1522.
It's got the zombie splatter on it. This is my oldest first gun. I got some 35 round mags and some 20 round mags and all that. He loves it. I made sure that he wasn't going to put an optic on it. He's got some really nice iron sights on it. And he is lethal with this little. I haven't showed this one yet. My other 22, I did a whole video on that. And real quick, this little Henry survival one is become even a lot more special to me because Idaho Rogers USMC showed up at my work to give me an extra magazine for it.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
I was like, well, I'll be damned.
I haven't seen Idaho in the chat tonight, but if I do, we'll have to say thank you. That's awesome.
It's so weird with this thing being left-handed. I went to clear it, and you're like, where's the bolt?
It's on the wrong side.
But I don't know if you can see the wood on this thing, but it's
Good giggly.
Oh, that's deep.
This
right
is an
there.
out-of-the-box rifle. I mean, look at the wood on this thing.
God,
That's
gorgeous.
nice.
Is the shine too much, or can you see it?
Oh no, you
I mean,
can see it.
You see it.
It's a super rifle. And this was right at the end of the 452s. They'd already switched to the 455, but the left-handed ones were still 452s. So, I mean, this is like the very end of the production, I guess, of those, which, was like, I think it was Christmas of 2015. But
God,
yeah, he's pretty proud of it. And then we didn't make it quite till Christmas because we wanted to shoot, but last year he got a skeet gun. He got a Ruger Red Label 20 gauge skeet that came from my uncle, the same uncle that had that 350 Rem. And that's a really nice. I was a little worried about it at first, but I'm like, what is he going to shoot being left eye dominant? That's going to be kind of, and you look at left-handed shotguns that a kid can shoot skeet with, and I'm like, okay, an over or under would probably be good because any of the left-handed pump guns, there's, unless you really search, it's hard to find anything decent. And so I ended up getting him that Red Label, and boy, he really shoots it well. He's very intuitive, and and it's funny because I'm trying to show him foot position and everything, and it's all backwards because he shoots left-handed. And the targets that I have to adjust being right-handed, he has to adjust opposite being left-handed. So, for me, my most challenging target on the skeet field is the single number 6 low house because I want to jump on it right out of the chute, and I need to ride it just a little bit longer. But on the doubles, the bird doesn't bother me. But on the singles, for him, that target's intuitive. But the number 2 high house is the one that he's really got to watch because it's the same timing issue for him coming across his eye and all that. So it's teaching a left-hander is a little bit different. But I got to tell you guys about this uncle. He's got a lot of cool stuff. And a couple of my friends have been razzing me. They've called me un-American because I don't own anything in 30-06. So I've been kind of shopping around and thinking, well, one of them, knowing that my uncle has a couple of things, he says, well, it seems to me like if you're going to get a 30-06, it needs to be a pre-64 model 70 Winchester, blah, blah, blah. You know, and I just happen to know where there's a really nice one. Well, it's this same uncle. He's got a featherweight that's, you know, just primo that he bought new a long time ago. And so I flirted around with him a little bit and said, you know, if you decide to step off that, I'd really be interested. And, you know, I've always figured that if he throws me a number, I'm just going to pay it and buy it, and that'll just be the end of it. So I get a phone call from my uncle here last week, which is very uncharacteristic. I mean, I hear from him once in a great while, or see him at the gun club maybe, but he calls and he says, hey, he says, I was cleaning out my gun safe here, trying to straighten things up a little bit, and guess what I found in there? And I start to shake, you know. I'm like, well, probably a Winchester of some sort, being a smarty pants. He goes, well, yeah, there's a couple of those in there too, but I found the choke tubes for that red label you bought for Alex. And I'm like, man, son of a, like Uncle Jim says, son of a, I'm like, I was like almost shaking and sweating thinking he was going to sell me that Model 70.
How old is your son, Curtis?
He's 15.
Who shoots that rifle? Okay, 15.
He's 15. He's a marvelous kid. I mean, I've had friends at work say, well, what do you do when your kid does this? And I'm like, beats me, you know, Alex he's a joy. I mean, I'm very blessed, you know, and all I've done is try to make him feel secure at home and make him know that he's loved and, you know, and show support for the things that he likes. And boy, he's just turned out to be a fine specimen of a young man. And I'm very, very proud of him.
Good deal. Good. That's nice to hear, man.
That is. It's all about, I like hearing positive things, I tell you. It's sometimes it's in short supply.
Pretty blessed kid, if you ask me. He's got a CZ 22 and a Ruger Red Label.
You know, the other thing that he likes pimp guns. Luckily his pimp gun taste isn't so bad, but the first thing he gravitated towards is one of those Kimber 380s. They call it a Bel Air, and it's like shiny nickel and baby blue, and it looks like a 57 Chevy. And he says, Dad, that is the coolest auto loader I've ever seen, and blah, blah, blah. And, God, well, I'd really like to have, blah. Well, so I'm like thinking about it and all that. And then not but 3 weeks later, over in the Colts in the 1911, turns up this Colt, and it's like a, strikes me, what's the compact size Colt? Is it a Commander? Is that right?
Lightweight
smaller
Commander.
One?
Agent.
It's a 1911, but a little bit smaller, and it was the same treatment. And the thing, I'm not really big into colored guns and stuff, but it was the same thing, that baby blue color and nickel, and it was freaking gorgeous. But it was like a custom shop Colt, and it was like $2,700. Alex got a look at that, and he's like, and the kids aren't supposed to handle the handguns in the shop unless you're 18 or whatever. So, I know the people. So we went in the back room, and the owner let him look at, he's shot with it. He knows he's safe and all that. And so let him look at it. And Alex is he's just like all about this handgun. And I'm like, so a couple of weeks later, we're in there, and they've got these colored Glocks. So there's like a Glock 43 that's blue and silver. I said, you have one of these. He's like, no, Dad, I want that Colt. I'm like, yeah, maybe when you graduate from college, we'll think about something like that.
Man, okay, talking about pimp guns. Maybe it depends on your definition of pimp guns. I saw something this week that is the ultimate pimp gun. Because when I think about pimp, I think of somebody that's like acts like they're just flashy with no substance, but odd. At my gun shop, there's a Dan Wesley that part of it has been gold plated. Part of it is completely like the nickel plating is completely like rotted off of it. Somebody has threaded the barrel and put a big old castle nut on the end of it. I can't do this gun justice to just how, I don't even want to touch it. It looks. It's a big old end frame size gun. I don't even know what caliber it is. It's probably a 357 or something along those lines. And this thing looks horrible. So I asked him, hey man, let me pull this thing. Let me look at that. He's like, oh yeah, you want to see something? Go ahead and try it out. The action in it is stupid. and it was one of the smoothest guns I've ever like. It was unbelievable. I'm like, how is that possible? He's like, we have no idea. He's like, this thing actually literally is a pirate's gun. It came from Somalia. It is an actual pirate's gun. And it's like the smoothest thing. I'm like, man, I need to go buy a Dan Wesson now. But when I first saw it, I'm like, that is a pimp gun. That's like something somebody could throw away in a dumpster.
It's like the car that doesn't look fast. It looks, all rusty and nasty, but it's the one that's got the power.
Yeah, it's certainly a sleeper, man. That thing was just looked like I said, there's a giant castle nut screwed into the end of the barrel, but the action is the smoothest shit up. Like the back sight, it can't be stock. It's like some kind of like bent up piece of sheet metal that's like gold plated and like screwed into it with a wood screw. I mean, it's just it's terrible. Oh man, what we got here? Let me go ahead and run through a little bit here of the chat, guys. Big Al, thank you for showing up. PC Bullet Empire, my brother here. Vanessa Kitty, of course. Uncle Jim, Insight Freedom. Fuzzy Fork 8, who got a little bit of casting in the other day. JCM, who I honestly, we need to see some more videos from you, JCM. James Pollard, splurged in the 70s for a Colt. Yeah, I don't think I've ever owned one. I'm after a 1911 and 38 Super, and I'd like to get an actual Colt for that. Warsaw Patriot, preferring the SIG, or he prefers the Beretta 92 over the SIG. I don't know about that for carrying purposes. I like the 92, but just not to carry. Armament Axes, brother, I appreciate you coming out. And let's run down here a little bit more. See if we got anybody else I'm missing. Ozark Spirit, get you $1,000. Yeah, that's a good one if you're gonna go for 30-06. I'm a 308 guy. I think the 30-06 is just too long of a 308. That's gonna get some kind of hate here in the chat. I know it. Tread, appreciate you coming out, guys. I mean, everybody. Every week, I really do appreciate all you guys coming out, and I love coming and talking with you and chatting in the side chat here. And I appreciate everybody on the panel and Curtis coming out. If you guys don't know William C. Chapin, please go check out his channel. He does a lot of great videos, and I enjoy his videos. There's a certain calmness and simplicity and humor about it that I think really, really ties in well with me. Hey, Willie, glad to see you. And if you haven't gone on to the reloadersnetwork.com, so you got 36 people on here. There might be somebody. Go check out the reloadersnetwork.com. That's where all of us are putting material and uploading videos and writing articles and things like that. And would love to have you over there. There's affiliate links. If you're doing any shopping this Christmas season, you can use those affiliate links. It helps with the website. Doesn't cost you anything. And in fact, they have an affiliate link to Amazon, which we all probably going to end up buying something. Well, a lot of us are going to buy something off Amazon this Christmas season. So thank you guys for coming out. And I do appreciate it. So anyway, what else we got here? We still got, what do we got here time-wise? We still got about a half an hour left of the show. So,
well, Nathan, I appreciate the kind words. One of the fellows in the chat was asking if I'd comment in the side chat so we can find Insight Freedom was asking. I'll type there in a minute. I just wanted to thank you guys. I really enjoy being here. I like that you have the Georgia Shooters connection, and I like that you bring on guests. I've watched all the other guests. I'm looking forward to 243 Outdoors, Josh being here in a couple weeks. He's a neat guy, really accomplished guy. And what I like about Josh is kind of the same thing I like about Johnny's Reloading Bench. Those are guys that are using standard everyday practice techniques and whatnot in standard everyday rifles and achieving just spectacular results. Johnny shoots some really good groups out of everyday rifles with reloading techniques that everyone can do with the tools that they have. He's not one of these types that has to have every little gadget to adjust every little thing to try to squeeze a little more. He's getting excellent results with everyday tools. And then you look at what Josh is achieving, with things that we can all achieve, and it's really enlightening to watch those guys have such good success, you know, with in showing it so everyone can do it. I mean, it's fun to imagine how many people are out there trying the things that Johnny does, and how many people are like, wow, you know, my rifle will shoot 3, 4, 5, 600 yards like Josh at 243 outdoors. I really like both of those guys and the approach to their channel. And then I think everybody here pretty much knows who I am, but I do want to address one thing because it's come up a couple of times. This is not a medic alert bracelet. I'm not allergic to penicillin. I don't have HIV. I'm not dying. This is a prisoner of war missing in action bracelet. The gentleman's name on it is Dennis S. Pike. He was an A7 pilot, and he unfortunately was lost in Laos in 1973. I was fortunate enough to meet his wife. She didn't know that I knew who she was. She may or may not have known I was wearing a bracelet with her former husband's name on it. But it's just a memorial, and any of the veterans out there probably have seen MIA bracelets from the various wars and whatnot. I picked up a bracelet with Commander Pike's name on it when I was at Naval Air Station Lemoore in California. I'd never seen one before, and there was a display one day, and I'm like, that's pretty cool. And I wanted to pick a person who I had something that I liked about. Well, A7 Corsair 2 is one of my favorite airframes, and he was an A7 pilot in the VA 192 world famous Golden Dragons, and was aboard the USS Kitty Hawk when he was lost. But so I, you know, and he had served that squadron was based at Lemoore, so I chose his bracelet. This is my second one. The first one broke, so I've been wearing a bracelet with his name more or less every day since probably 1992, I guess. I met his wife about 1992, 1993. She was a school teacher, and I had befriended another school teacher that was a co-worker, and just by accident ran into her. And you know, she probably doesn't even realize it. So anyway, I'm not dying, and I won't bleed to death if I cut myself with a knife. I'm not a hemophiliac, nothing like that. It's a missing in action memorial.
Yeah, it's funny because sometimes I think you get so used to certain things you don't even think it would be a question. Like I never even considered that somebody wouldn't know what that was, you know. But now you say something, I'm like, I could definitely see people having no idea that don't have that same.
I've been mean about it a couple of times, Nathan. Way back when I was still at Naval Air Station Lemoore, some young sailor that was obviously a punk of some sort. We were in the chow line, the mess decks, and he says, "Did you got AIDS or something?" And I said, "No, it's a prisoner of war bracelet from Vietnam. I never met my dad." And he looked at me and says, "What do you mean?" I said, "I never met my dad." You know, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean it." And I'm like, "I didn't either."
Yeah, but learn to not shoot your mouth off, kid. Yeah.
And then over time, the whole story's evolved, though, because for Christmas years ago, I wanted a Woolrich jacket like you couldn't imagine. And, you know, and like parents do sometimes, they never got around to buying it. So one Christmas, I got the ever popular picture of the Woolrich jacket to go get later. It never happened. And it really wasn't anything that was planned. It just shook out that way. Other things happened. I got out of the service, came home. That first Christmas I was back, my parents remembered, and they bought me a jacket, but they didn't get me Woolrich. They got me a Kodak. They got me a real Canadian one. And I was really happy about it. So then one time somebody was picking on me about, you know, I tend to say ya and da, you know, like a Youper or a Canadian, and somebody was talking to me about Canada. So then this all just evolved, and somebody accused me of voting for someone that I would have never voted for, and my response was, I can't vote. Well, I'm not a citizen, I'm from Canada. And this whole thing evolved. So then it turned out that my dad was a draft dodger and went to Canada, and this whole thing has evolved over time. And then the bracelet got thrown in. You know, they finally caught up with him and shipped him over there, and he didn't make it back. You know, it's all just a big joke. But, you know, and I can go on all day about it, and it's just kind of one of those things.
Yeah, the elaborate prank.
Hey, since we're on 22s, I pulled out another one. You know, Jamie asked me about 22s, and I'm thinking to myself, I was thinking I only had two. I thought I have a Ruger 77 Target, in the target gray, the heavy barreled one that I shoot at our indoor target stuff. And my son's CZ that you just saw. But then I got thinking about it, and we talked about it for a few minutes. Well, since then I realized, okay, I have a Smith & Wesson 43C, which is the titanium 8-shot J-frame 22 revolver. I've never fired it. I've never even run it. I bought it because I thought it was cool, and I've never done anything with it. I have a Ruger Standard, and it dates to about 1970. It's the 6-inch regular barrel, has the older style mags. It's the second iteration of the frame style. So I have that in 22. And then I have this, and I picked this up out of a collection of a guy that passed that was a national black powder champion. And this is a Remington 572. It's a pump action 22 long rifle, and it feels just like a Remington 870 when you shoot it. And I just thought, I think they're cool, and I grabbed this up. So I think that's the full fleet of 22s.
I'm really heavily considering of getting a Henry pump 22. I've always liked pump 22s. I always thought they were the neatest. I'd probably rather have one of those over an auto. Even those survival ones like Kyle's got, I always thought were really cool.
JCM says I should come to California because they'll let me vote if I'm not a citizen.
I think they'll actually take you to multiple voting precincts and they'll actually cart you around.
I think that would be a lot like when I've been on jury duty. I don't think I'll make the cut when they find out what my interests are.
Yeah, absolutely. I talked with somebody today who is running into a situation where he's trying to help somebody out, and a bureaucrat comes to his house and he's got all this paperwork that he needs to do to try to help this person out, and they're asking him questions about what guns he has in his house and how much ammunition. He's like, "What in the hell business is it of yours? I have an entire amendment set up to be able to do whatever I want to do." That's like asking somebody, "Well, how much do you actually go ahead and post online your opinion?" You know what? Like, it's surprising how crazy some of that stuff has gotten, even in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
It got really crazy down here for a while, didn't it?
Yeah.
It still is.
Oh, it's a governor election?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's over.
It still is. There's something like 13 lawsuits in the process right now.
Yeah. Well, some of that's actually legit. There was some shady stuff that went on during that election period, but I don't think the one for JCM says it'll get worse. I'm sure it will. But there's always New Mexico. I hope the loaded cap gun didn't hear me say that. Yeah, I don't know, man. There's some of the stuff that went on this election cycle in Georgia wasn't on the up and up. There was some crazy stuff that went down. So, but the governor's thing I think was way blown out of proportion. She lost, so be it.
Right.
It's extremely blown out of proportion, and she's upset because the people on the voting council that are in charge of looking at absentee ballots and all that actually went by the laws of the state of Georgia that Brian Kemp didn't have a damn thing to do with. They actually enforced the laws that were already on the books. The signatures don't match, or they're not signed, or they don't even remember their own birthday. We're not counting that because it's not an accurate vote.
Well,
I hear you, but you got to remember that Brian Kemp was the sitting secretary of whatever the election.
I know, but then again, you also have to remember that the other absentee ballot that was already counted by the same person had the right signature and birthday on it.
Well, all I'm saying is, if you let me be the banker, I'm gonna win at Monopoly every time.
Yep. And that's the thing. Look, I of course I want a Republican to be in office over a Democrat. I want a Libertarian to be in office, but I want a Republican over a Democrat because of gun laws. But that's just shady. I mean, if you're the Secretary of State running for governor, get step down. Like,
Right.
If you should have, that would have eliminated a lot.
Yeah. If you don't win, so be it. Tough luck. That sucks. You took your chance, but don't do both. That's tacky.
Yeah. Gary Metzner's asking Chico where he can find the Pump 22. Nathan, didn't you just say that you were looking at a Henry?
Yeah, that's what I'm after. Henry makes a nice one, and I don't think it cost all that much. I like lever actions, but I really for 22s, I've always had a thing for pumps. My dad's got an old Winnie pump, a lot like the ones that Chico has, but his was in a fire, I think.
Oh,
So
this is nice. Yeah.
it's a little delicate, but yeah, that's nice, Chico.
Thanks, man.
Tell me a little bit about how it's shot.
You know what? It shot. This is the short one, right? And y'all probably gonna look. This is the short one. It shot good. I loaded the ammo in it, shot it, pow, pow, pow. Every time, you know. But this was the one that I cleaned, got all the rust off of. So the other one, because that was a process. The other one, I didn't do that. I took an oil rag, wiped it across the barrel, took it to the range with me, and it was the 22 long, and it shot good too. So I was like, why will this thing not take 22 long rifles? Let me do this. I took one round, I opened the chamber, pushed down the feeding ramp, I loaded a 22 long rifle in here. It shot, and the difference is the loud pop of it's a lot different, but they shot good, man. You know, because I like older guns, you know, and I don't even think you can put nothing on these. No, I wouldn't put nothing on it. You know, it's a learning gun to me, though. Like, you know, people want to put optics and not on nothing like this, I don't think. But for Gary, his question, when I first got these, I looked them up to see. And that depends on who's selling them, because I've seen some that look better than mine that were reasonably priced, but I've seen some that look worse than mine that was ridiculously priced. I seen one that was $4,900 online, and it looked worse than the one I have, and I was like, what in the heck is up with these guns? I seen the cheapest one I seen was like $400 or $500 of these 1890s. Now mine is a 1908 model year production, and one of them is a 1925 model. So I've seen the ones Nathan's talking about, though, the Henry, the pumps. Those are the newer ones. What they like, $300-400 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
That ain't bad.
Oh,
They shot good.
That's definitely what I would go with if I was going to go shooting. Hey, here's a question for you, Chico. Have you ever seen those rods that they use that they'll put in the gun, and it's like some kind of electrolysis thing to clean them?
No, but I know a little bit about electrolysis. I haven't seen the rod.
Yeah, there's some kind of gun cleaning system that uses electrolysis or something like that. I don't know. And I would think that like an old pump like that would be a prime candidate for it, because you probably don't want to scrub on that thing too much, but it's still probably lead fouled like a big dog.
Can y'all see that? This is the one I didn't clean. My uncle had them stored not in the most greatest shape and position, but this was, believe it or not, the one I cleaned was in worse condition than this. But as you can see, right here, this is all nice to me. This area or whatever I'm pointing at, where's my camera at? Right here, this is all nice to me. But up here on the end, he had it stored down in a closet, and that closet was getting some kind of humidity, moisture. But yeah man, I like the.
I'm sorry. I think my buddy Kyle would say it was stored in less than ideal conditions.
Less than ideal conditions, yes. But that's why I'm gonna push for him to let me get them. Because he's got a few other ones now. Hopefully, I'm gonna go get this other one. If you guys are familiar, 1887. It's a lever action shotgun. Now, this belonged to my grandfather. It's a black powder shotgun, so I can't even shoot modern loads out of it. Since I had been reading about it, and it's bad. I was like, leave it here. I'll come back and get it, because it looks worse than both of these. The rust on it.
Yeah.
So,
Wersall said something about thinking of rebluing it. I would never reblue one of those like yours. But if one's really bad, or the wood's gone off of it, or there's no collector's value at all, then I would do it. I wouldn't have any problem refinishing it and doing everything else to it and try to make it back into a shooter. But
did you guys? I had a video on this, but look, I said I love my Ruger, and my Ruger is not a takedown model, but I think this is the first takedown rifle. If you guys are familiar how it comes apart, it's I had to, before I took it apart, I had to look it up because I want to make sure I did everything right. It's just one thumb screw, and it comes right apart, man. It's look.
Yeah.
That's the first takedown, if you ask me.
Well,
So,
here's one for you, buddy. Look at this. This old Siemens. It's actually got knurling on the one nut, and so I tightened it up with a screwdriver. But you can usually pull that one thing off. It's one screw, and the whole action, everything comes out, and it's a takedown as well.
man, I like simple. I like simple for some reason.
I think that was something that was really common with some of these older type guns. Was the more simply they were constructed, the more apt people were to take them apart and clean them. I don't know. But yeah, this thing does the same thing. And I don't think this model goes back to the years of those Winnies, but it's an old design for sure.
Hey, Nathan, I got a story for you, and I don't want to sound like I'm patting myself on the back. 1974, I was 12 and went to the Boy Scout camp, and they had the rifle competition that was a rifle just exactly like that. Well, actually, there was a bank of about 15 or 20 of them. We had 225 kids enter that shooting competition. I finished second. But one thing I did was early on in the competition, I picked out a rifle, and I kept that same rifle all the way through, so that I knew right where it was hitting. And I finished second out of 225 kids, and the only reason is I did like what Curtis's kid did. I sandbagged one so we could end it. I mean, we'd been there all day. It started at like 9 o'clock in the morning. It's getting close to 3:30. I just tanked one, and okay, just me and this one other kid, and we were just, yeah.
Well, after hearing that story, Jamie, I have to retract what I said earlier. You and I are not about the same age. You got me by a few years. I just turned 50 in October, so.
Yeah, I'm 56. I turned 56 in August, and I put that on the side chat.
I think I saw that, and then I think JCM said he was 57. Is that right?
I saw Insight's 55, and I think James Pollard said his youngest son or his
40. Yeah.
His youngest son's 40. I'm like, man, I thought you were about my age.
I was thinking that too, just from talking with him. Back
Yeah. Turns out he's not.
I was like, man, okay.
I fully expect Uncle Jim to spell out his age in the snow in his next video.
I don't know as if I can, if Uncle Jim's going to be. I mean, that's a lot of letters. You get old.
Roman numerals.
Hey, keeping it simple. XI. Yeah. Oh, that's good. Oh.
He has to drink a bottle of that Ozark Spirit beer and then spell out his age.
Yeah, or an entire thermos full of eggnog with the rum, the good stuff, the high test. Oh boy. Yeah, it's funny, man. This first guns thing, like one of the first handguns I remember shooting was an H&R 9-shot revolver 22. It wasn't a particularly well-built gun, and I think it kind of put a bad taste in my mouth for HRs. Even though I love them now, it was like at the time I was just like, man, that thing is just rough. But that was one of my first handguns I think I ever shot, and I was pretty old. Like I wasn't really. Was one of the things that was kind of odd. I wasn't really, even though rifle shooting and shotguns and things like that, my dad was very much so trying to, very supportive, but handguns he wasn't. He was like, no, hold off for a long time. I think I was 16 or something before I shot a handgun first time.
Yeah, we didn't have handguns when I was growing up. That was, I guess that was considered for bad people, cops. FBI agents and crooks, you know. But the first handgun I shot was one I bought myself, and that was well, the first one I shot, of course, was y'all remember my Uncle Jim I was telling you about? He had twin 38 specials. Both of them were Smith and Wesson. Seems like they were what, Model 10s, maybe pre-Model 10s. It'd been back in the 70s, but yeah, they were nickel plated. Well, one was nickel, one was blue, I think. They were pretty cool. They were pretty cool. I remember shooting those. But the first one I ever bought was my 586. Was the first handgun I bought, and that was in about 88 or 89, and that was the only handgun I owned for a long time. When come on, Willie. Do y'all see what Willie wrote?
Yeah. Actually, there's some truth to that. I might be wrong. One of the first handguns I might shot might have been a cap and ball revolver, one of those old Navy replicas. Might have been the first thing I think I might have been. Might have been.
Actually, mine was the musket, the single shot. You remember? You know what?
Yeah, a hand gone. I believe it's called them. Yeah.
A hand cannon.
Yeah.
Was
Hey,
it a flintlock, Jamie?
The what, Kyle?
Was it a flintlock?
Yeah, it was. That's where the expression "keep your powder dry" comes from. I mean, literally.
yeah, you
When
gotta
I
keep
was
your pan closed.
when I was 16, my mom bought me a CVA Kentucky rifle kit. Me and a friend of mine built that at work, and I finished it. It was a Kentucky rifle. Y'all can say what you want to. It had an octagon barrel. I think it was like 30 inches long. Thing weighed probably 25 pounds. Man, that thing shot the lights out, dude. I mean, you could put as much powder as you wanted to in that thing. But man, I filed those sights down at 100 yards. I could nail what I was aiming at, man. It was unbelievable. Only problem was it took you about 20 minutes to find out if you hit your target or not.
That's what they call waiting for the smoke to clear.
Right, and if there wasn't any breeze, it took longer than that.
Yeah, it's funny, man. My first now was the first handgun I bought. The first gun I ever bought was myself. I mean, I kind of bought my Brit, but the first gun I ever bought myself was a Ruger P97 DC. I got it used. It was the guy at the shop said that it was a policeman's gun, but I'm just like, why in the hell would a policeman be carrying that? Even in the 90s, that doesn't make a lot of sense. That's not something to know that would be normal for that time frame. But it's funny. I really started to learn how to shoot a handgun with that gun, and I spent a lot of rounds through it. It's a shame I don't have it anymore, but it started acting stupid. And Ruger wouldn't help me out any. But it's funny because every time I go to a gun store and I see one, I'm like, oh, how much they got on that? You know, like every time. I haven't picked one back up yet, though.
That's a whole other question. What's the first gun that I bought? The first one that I bought is a black powder gun. I bought it when inline muzzleloaders first started to be relatively popular. Ruger did the Ruger 7750. It's a number 11 percussion cap, 50 caliber, and it's built on the same receiver as like the 7722s, 7717s, the smaller 77 receiver. And I picked one of those up. That would have been probably 96 or so. I bought it to deer hunt with because we're in the shotgun and muzzleloader zone down here back in those days, and I wanted something other than a shotgun, so I grabbed one of those, and it took only a couple of years for it to be surpassed by the 209 ignition things from Knight and who knows what others. Thompson Center Encores certainly became very popular for muzzleloaders around here. But that 7750 shoots good. I've harvested several deer with it.
My Warsaw asked about the worst mistake you ever made with a handgun first time shooting. My dad made made, put together, refinished. Anyway, there's a 32 Smith & Wesson top break. That's the caliber, not the gun. Well, I think mine is a Smith, actually. And that thing's trigger was so bad. Anyway, it was horrible. Terrible trigger. And I took it to the range, and I was already a little sheepish at the range because it was an indoor range. It was actually a police indoor range that had public days, and I was in there, and I had to hang my target with this little itty-bitty PVC tube thing, and I brought that 32 out, and first shot, and I blew that damn PVC tube to pieces. Target floating down. Like, oh man, I had to take it back to the counter. I shot the target holder. I never felt so good, bad in my life. I just felt like clawing underneath the table. I couldn't shoot anymore after that. I just closed up my stuff and left. I'm done. But yeah, that was the first shot, and it was rough. It's a little bit better now. But what we actually found out is that if I could get the parts for it, it's a single double, but the double was worn out in it, so you only could shoot it. Or the single was worn out. You could only shoot it double action, and that made it even worse. So, poor old thing.
The first handgun I ever bought was my Colt Lightweight Commander 45.
You shot a lot through that, haven't you, Kyle?
Yeah, I should have went through about 6 barrels, but I'm still using the same one because I still know where it hits. You can look through it. It looks like a Glock. Polygonal rifling.
No.
It's not supposed to. I just keep sizing the bullets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Warsaw says the worst mistake he ever had was rapid firing a Glock, and I know what you're saying is your muscles just aren't exactly acting right, and you kind of panicking, and you keep going, and all of a sudden it's coming back on you. I've never had that happen, but I can see how it could. Yeah, it can happen for sure. I've never done it, but I can understand how it would. Oh boy. So we got Eddie B here in the chat, our fellow Georgia folk. Who else we got here that's kind of popped up new lately? I thought I saw Preacher's Day Off. Hey, thanks for showing up, brother. I watched your nut butter. No, that ain't it. Yeah, what was the name of that video? Anyway, something to do with nuts and grain and a dough. I don't know. Anyway, cool video though. Yeah.
He came in the chat saying that he was late because he had to finish a portion of backstrap, and he was immediately accused of the fact that possum don't have backstrap.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that raccoon cook sure did look pretty damn good.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I'm really excited right now for the Uncle Jim's video about the FM45. I'm really excited about that as one of the next things I'm wanting to do. I've got a thing right now for an AR pistol and 45 suppressed. It's so bad I can't see straight, and I don't know exactly why I do, but
Yeah, I'm gonna go 9. Yeah. I want to get me one of those 9mm though first. So 45 is.
Well, you used to have 45.
I've got a great set of videos coming.
All right, I'm looking. I always look forward to your videos, Kyle. In fact, did you do a Survival Sunday this week? I don't think
I didn't because my clip broke. I did the battle box unboxing. My clip broke. I tried to use bank line. I mean, parachute cord. I tried everything to hold my camera to the damn tripod. I couldn't see what y'all could see because I had to lash it so much to get it to hold steady. I didn't. But Ozark Spirit turned me on to something, and it's in the mail. I should have it Wednesday. I've ordered an electronic game call, and this late January, early February, when Tack and Brenda come down to come camping with me. We're all going coyote and hog hunting with an electronic game call, and this should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I bet that is.
We're going to wipe out some varmints.
All of them. Preacher's Day off says the worst mistake he ever made was shooting 48 consecutive rounds through an M203 grenade launcher. I heard for a week. Man, I could see how that would happen. Now, if you would have shot 46, you would have been good to go, and you would have got maximum enjoyment, I'm sure.
What in the hell is up with all these damn unicorns?
I was just wondering about that. You know,
that's been going on for a week now.
I missed something.
Yeah, that's been going on for quite a while. That's a remnant of some hat chat stuff right there. I'm trying to remember. I think Ozark started it. But yeah, it's
there's a unicorn, just a horny horse.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, I posted earlier a picture of a cow. I said you mess with the bull and you get the horn, and the horn being a unicorn.
Yeah.
There's a guy on YouTube who's got a channel name. What is it? Chico, help me out here. Isn't it Unicorn Rainbow Militia or something like that?
Oh, maybe. It's some crazy stuff on YouTube. Y'all know. That's probably why half of y'all come here. Oh, no, I'm just playing. I think we do well. But it's a lot of different channels on YouTube. But I believe I've seen that unicorn one. I haven't watched. I might have watched 30 seconds of something, and I was like, let me get up out here. But it is a unicorn. Is it Mafia? No. Something. I don't know, Jamie. Jamie will post the link in the description. No, I'm just playing.
Oh, shut up.
I'm just playing.
Ozark Spirit says that my son's left-handed CZ452 is a unicorn. I don't think they're rare. I think they're pretty easy to obtain. I think it's just most places don't have them in stock. I think they're out there in distribution. There's probably plenty of them. I don't think it's rare in any way.
I'm sorry, Chico got me.
What?
Yeah.
I was just joking. Jamie know I was just playing.
I do.
Just to get it out there to the rest of the guys out here in the watching. If you haven't checked out, if you haven't seen, Kyle is doing a video every Sunday or close to it. We're called Survival Sunday, which is something that's outside of the normal reloading and shooting and guns thing, but it's kind of in the same area. And it's really cool, man. If you're into that kind of stuff, I know I am. I absolutely adore it. I've always been somebody who loves to go camping, loves to go hiking and stuff like that. But I'll tell you, to be perfectly honest, survival school really put me on to like learning more techniques and things like that for being self-sufficient. Like I always knew that if somebody dumped me off in the woods, I could make it, but now I can thrive relatively quickly. And Kyle's videos are really cool. I'm always looking forward to them for sure.
So Kyle, you got to fill me in. What in the world is fatwood? I watched that and I see that it lights easy, but is that a species of tree or is it?
No. It's real simple, and you probably got some in your backyard and don't know it. Okay. What fatwood is? It comes from a pine tree. This is a section that I chopped up, or actually sawed off, and then just batoned down. When a limb breaks off, the tree automatically puts all the sap there to seal the wound, right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So, if it's broken off, chances are the 2 or 3 inches of it is going to be just compacted with sap to seal the wound. Well, you cut that off, and that's fatwood. You can just scrape that off, and just it'll catch right up. I was fortunate enough to find I was just walking through the woods behind my house and found an old pine tree stump, a little bitty center part that was still sticking up out of the ground. You know, the rest of it had rotted away, but the heart was still there. And I broke the thing off, and I ended up with it was a piece. Well, I guess I got to go this way. About this long, but it was about this big around, and it was nothing but fatwood. I trimmed it up and started just splitting it off into little bitty pieces with a knife and a stick, and ended up with quite a bit of fat wood. I've got more outside. I've got a bucket of it outside.
Kyle, you should be flattered. All the guys in the chat are saying that you got fat wood.
I appreciate it. But yeah, that's all it is. It's I guess you would say where you'll mostly find it is on pine trees, because the limbs naturally fall off. They shed the lower limbs so they can provide the nutrients to the top ones that are feeding the tree. So they'll shed the lower limbs. Well, those sticks sticking out of the trunk about that far, where it breaks off here, but this is on the trunk, pretty much 9 times out of 10, that entire stick will be fat wood. Just take your saw, cut it off. The tree's already sealed the wound. It's not going to lose anything. You're just taking what it's already put up there in that stump and using it. So
another place you find it is in the center of stumps. As the pine tree starts to decay, you find a broke off tree in the stump down in the ground. You can dig big chunks of it out. From
that's where I got the piece, and I've got, Jamie, you've seen that bucket out back. There's probably another 100, 150 pieces just like this that I broke off, because I've gotten several sticks like that, and just processed them in the backyard. Whatever, sitting there listening to some music, whatever.
You can take one of those and put a match to it, and it'll light right up, and it'll make a really good fire. You feed it right.
Kyle, you said you baton it. What did you mean by that?
You take a big piece of wood. Hang on. Pretend this is a piece of wood. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Put your piece of wood, or put your knife across the piece of wood, then hit this part of the knife with another piece of wood or something and drive it down through it. Now you have 2 pieces of wood. You can cut it as thin as you want to. Just keep you working with the same piece of wood, and eventually you can get to, and you can do it with any knife. I just had this one. Don't ask me why I had this one.
It looks like a pirate sword.
Right. But I just got them down to nice little, you can throw them in a pouch, packable pieces. You can scrape them off. They'll take a spark real quick from a ferro rod. Just that kind of stuff. If I'm ever in the woods, I am not going to be without a fire. I don't care if it's raining. I'll build a fire. If I'm cold, I'm going to be warm. So.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I really just enjoy. That was something I always enjoyed, and then I got where I really like it. Now I haven't been out and done that stuff in a while, so I like watching those videos. They keep me sharp, guys. I hate to do it. We're over 10 o'clock here, so we want to kind of give our closing pieces and say our good nights.
Sure, I'll go first. Hey, guys, thanks for being in the side chat and keeping everybody busy and interested and engaged. So thanks. I'll have some videos coming of my range footage today, and probably got some other interesting stuff coming out soon. So thanks for being here, and it's Chico from the Dirty South.
Nice, well done. Well done, sir. I had to give Fuzz a little bit of crap here a couple seconds ago. He's talking about running out of arrows during survival school. So I get crap about it. Must have been hard when he's wearing them buckle shoes. I love Fuzz's videos. He put out a couple videos the other day. I've got through a couple of them. I don't think I've gotten through all of them yet, though.
I watched his cooking channel videos. Those were pretty nice.
Yeah. Fuzz does.
Suckered me in. I thought we was going to have some possum stew or something like that. It ends up being what it was.
Yeah. And Preacher's been talking about murdering Bigfoot a lot lately, and I don't know how. I'm on the fence on that. I mean, part of me is understandable, I I prefer if the coyote population goes down, then the Bigfoot population goes up, and I understand that correlation. But
You can hunt big feet.
yeah. Oh man. So Kyle, what you got going on, buddy? What you got coming up next?
Well, we're going to play with some water purification stuff this Sunday. Hoping to do. Tomorrow's supposed to be just a crappy day here in Georgia for the entire state. It's going to be raining. It's not cold anymore. We got a warm front come through, which is bringing all this water. It's just going to be terrible. So I'm going to go through my bullet inventory, see what I need to make, and do a lot of casting in the morning. I'm waiting on my eldest son to come down when he gets done taking his SATs tomorrow. And then hopefully we can go over to a buddy's house and, do a barbecue and watch the game. But I want to do a water purification thing this weekend for Survival Sunday. Maybe throw a casting video out there. There's all kinds of stuff. I'm totally open to suggestions on what y'all want to see for anything. If I can make it happen, I can make it happen. Might even fire up the Loadmaster and make some bulk 300 blackout ammo. Who knows? Just whatever y'all want to see, just let me know. But I do appreciate everybody being here. I've had a hoot cutting up with the people in the side chat, and I'm just trying to figure out where I need to get a unicorn.
Yeah.
Can you make fatwood out of unicorn horn?
Quite possibly, but the unicorn heart is so full of love that it's actually impossible to burn. So I don't know how much of that gets into the horn. The horn might be pure evil.
Where do you come up with this shit?
Oh, so Jamie, what you got coming up next, brother?
Brother, I've had load 7 of 35 Remington loaded up for a month. I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and load 8 too, and do 2 birds with 1 stone, and start winding down the preliminary test and get on to the fine tuning. I'm got the Mauser is apart and being redone, and about got it ready to go back together. I've got a mold from Eagle Eye sent me a mold, so I'm ready to start casting for it. I got to put it back together and get it out to the range and just shoot it, see how it functions. I did slug the barrel. It's a perfect 323, just like it's supposed to be. So, before we never mind, I'll cover that on the after chat. Chico, remind me to tell you something about those 22s you got.
Okay.
But that's it for me, man. It seems like I'll put up 2 or 3 videos in about 2 days, and then I don't put anything out for 3 weeks. So I'm gonna try to be more consistent. And thanks for everybody coming in. We've had over 30 most of the time, but most of all, thank you guys for covering for me till I could get in tonight. And thanks for Mr. Chapin being our guest tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Mr. William C. Chapin, what do you got coming up next on your channel?
Well, the first thing that's coming up is a thank you to you guys, Jamie, Nathan, Chico. Thanks for letting me crash your party. I've had a good time. I've been looking forward to it ever since you guys asked me, and I really enjoy the camaraderie that we get in these chats. It's a lot of fun to interact with each other, and I'm by myself about 60% of the time, so it's really fun to have you guys around, and I enjoy the banter. It's a lot of fun to chit chat and talk about things and make jokes and talk about things we enjoy doing, and it's really neat. I hope maybe someday I can make a trek down there and visit. It'd be a lot of fun, and see what it's like in Georgia for real. I've only driven through, and you don't see much past the shoulder of the road when you do that. So I'd like to come check it out. And As far as what I'm going to do on a YouTube channel, I don't really know. People were saying they might like to see a little bit more 44 special stuff. The view counts are certainly highest on those videos. That seems to be what people like to see right now. So I'd like to get back to that. For those people that in the side chat that asked, my YouTube channel is William C. Chapin. It's the same as my name. On the Reloaders Network, I'm William C. Chapin. The key thing to remember is that I was adopted by an Earth couple, so I'm a little bit different than these other folks around here. Vanessa Kitty's asking about 44 Magnum. I don't own a 44 Magnum. It's on the short list. I'm trying to decide. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I want a obnoxious snub nose revolver. I've been looking at the Ruger Alaskan, and I almost bought one in 480 because the price was really low, but I talked myself out of it. My first preference would be 454 Casull, but the more I think about it, the more useful the 44 Magnum would be. I would probably actually use it more. So yeah, I would like to do an obnoxious. It may be a 44 Magnum. Funny thing is, I don't like the way Super Red Hawks look, except for the Alaskan. They're strong, you know, and they're really neat, but they're kind of homely with the big round barrel and then an extended frame. So the Alaskan, they lop it off at the front of that extended frame, and they look pretty good. So if I bought a 44 Magnum that was not an Alaskan, I would just get a standard Red Hawk probably, or Smith. I could do a 29 if the right one came along. So, but yeah, 44 Magnum is certainly feasible. But
so you've
we'll
got
do some other things on the channel. Maybe I've got a couple projects going on downstairs that I need to wrap up and get going. Nathan's asked me for a couple of control line videos, so I'm going to have to work on that. And or maybe Nathan's dad wants control line videos. So how am I going to put the Hero Pro Session 5 on my head and fly and not get dizzy? That'll be hard.
Yeah, I think that'll be very hard.
Trying to keep it pointed in the right direction. Somebody's got to be doing it. You know, I've never filmed. I haven't filmed much of my flying. That's you know, a couple of people have asked about airplane stuff. I've never. Well, maybe 20 years ago, I may have made a video in an airplane, but I haven't recently. I probably ought to consider that. But it's one of those things where there's other people that are already doing that, and I try to, like Nathan said earlier, I try to be a little bit different. You know, an unboxing video is a stretch for me because everybody else does unboxing videos, and I try to have something that isn't just like everybody else is doing it. And I have 3 boxes from friends to open too, so I probably should do those. But anyway, thanks guys for watching, and thank you Georgia Connection for having me. I've had a good time, and you know, after you guys do the rounds, I wouldn't mind coming back.
Well, I definitely appreciate it. Your unboxing video was definitely different than everybody else. It was great. It was great. I really appreciate it. It was really, really good video. Guys, I want to mention Uncle Jim is having his hat chat is tomorrow night. I think 6 Mountain, whatever that is, human time. I have no idea. It'll be on eventually. Dude, that is it. If you guys have not checked out Uncle Jim's channel, please do. If you haven't watched Hat Chat, you're missing out. It is a hoot. I don't know if I'm going to be in it or if I'm going to be there or not. I've been really wanting to jump on it. It's been a while since I've been on one. Well, actually, I think I was on last week. I don't know. Whatever. I'm losing track of time. But we got a football game tomorrow night, and Valdosta State University's doing. We're I think it's semifinals type stuff. I think we're semi. I don't know. Anyway, we're getting really, really close to national championship level to time. And the game time is right about the time that the rain's going to get here. So I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow night. And they tried to cancel Christmas on us. So I don't know what's going on. Valdosta has been weird the past couple of days. But everybody, I appreciate everybody coming out. As far as what I've got going on next, I don't know. I've got a lot of stuff in the air right now. I went to the range on last Saturday, to go shooting and test all my 32 mag stuff. But it really turned into kind of a cluster, and instead of just shooting the stuff and not filming anything, I just put it in the bag and left it till next time. So I'm still trying to get out to do my 32 mag tests. So I really want to do that, guys. I want to get to shooting the bullets that Tim sent me and everything. And I got some other stuff that I'm working on. So I don't know. I've got a few things in the air, but yeah, I'll be sending out some videos probably here soon. But guys, I appreciate everybody coming out. We've had 35 viewers. I really do appreciate Curtis coming in with us. William C. Chapin's channel. I always love your videos. They're informative and fun, and they put me in a good mood. So I really do appreciate that. And of course, Jamie and Chico and Kyle, everybody. I appreciate it. Everybody in the side chat. Ocean Floyd Hicks. Hey, I don't think I've called out to you tonight because I hadn't seen you till now. But you and Ocean 374, I don't think I've said anything to tonight. But guys, I appreciate everybody coming out, and we're going to be on next week. I think, Jamie, I'm going to be out of town next week, so we're probably going to be doing it on Jamie's channel if he's going to be there. I'm going to try, guys. I'm going to be in a hotel, right? So I'm going to try to log on and be on the chat, but I can't ever bet on bandwidth in a hotel. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's junk, so I have no idea. But so look for a notification from JH586. If you're not subscribed to the channel, you made a mistake, go do that. And I will be seeing you, or we will be seeing you next week. So thanks very much, and have a good night.
Night, guys and girls.
Bye, guys.
Go Dogs.